I want to talk a little bit about Kimberly Klacik. She was definitely getting a lot of hype this past week. In the news big time for that spot she put out. I've got that below here. I'll show you that. Most of it. And I'll link it, of course, in the comments if you wanted to watch the whole thing. If you're one of the few people who hasn't seen it, that is if you're more moderate or on the right. If you're on the left, what? Who's Kim Klacik? She got a big pop this week. Spoke at the RNC. I didn't watch the speech. I don't get too much into the politics. I'll catch some highlights of it. I didn't watch the DNC either. I don't think I could watch that unless I needed to have something to put me to sleep. So Kimberly Klacik, the good, the bad, the ugly, well, the hotness. That's what we're going to talk about here. But I would like to offer some evidence of a forewarning for all of those conservatives that are getting excited. To me, and I'm just going to be straight right now, I think this is a flash in the pan type of thing. But it doesn't have to be that way long term. So hear me out, and I'll show you some evidence as to why I feel that way. And I'm not saying her candidacy is a bad thing. I'm just saying check out the evidence, and I'll show you here in the next few minutes. But let's watch some of the video first.
Do you care about Black lives? The people that run Baltimore don't. I can prove it. Walk with me. They don't want you to see this.
And I got the red on to match her red dress. Her red looks a lot better than mine though, right?
I'm Kim Klacik. This is Baltimore. The real Baltimore. This is the reality for Black people every single day. Crumbling infrastructure, abandoned homes, poverty, and crime. Baltimore has been run by the Democrat Party for 53 years. What is the result of their decades of leadership? Baltimore is one of the top 5 most dangerous cities in America. The murder rate in Baltimore is 10 times the U.S. average. The Baltimore poverty rate is over 20%. Homicide, drug, and alcohol deaths are skyrocketing in our city. Do you believe Black Lives Matter? I do. The vast majority of crime in Baltimore is perpetrated against Black people, who make up 60% of the population. So why don't we care about our communities? The Democrat Party have betrayed the Black people of Baltimore. If the politicians walked the streets like I do, they would see exactly how their policies and corruption affects us. If they don't want to see it, they don't want you to see this. Go to any Baltimore neighborhood and ask this question. Do you want to defund the police?
No.
This part coming up here really messed me up.
I had 3 sons killed in Baltimore City. And I think if we defund the police office, it's going to be worse than that. So no, I'm opposed to that.
What are you going to defund the police?
Still makes me sad.
Why?
3.
How do you defend your city, your community? Families are losing people.
It's not just Baltimore.
Sad,
the
right?
worst place for a Black person to live in America is a Democrat-controlled city. It's 2020. Name a blue city where Black people's lives have gotten better. Try. I'll wait. Look at this. How are children supposed to live here and play here? Democrats think Black people are stupid. They think they can control us forever. That we won't demand better and that we'll keep voting for them forever, despite what they've done to our families and our communities. Are they right? I'm Kim Klacik, and I'm running for Congress because I actually care about Black lives. All Black lives matter. Our communities matter. Baltimore matters. And Black people don't have to vote Democrat.
And take a look at that. 11.8 million views. That's big time. I can't even get 11 views on a video. Most of you have already seen it. You've had a chance to digest the whole thing. And I was like, wow, Kim Klacik. She came out of nowhere. And a lot of you may have already done this legwork. But I didn't know. I really didn't know all of this that I'm about to show you. Kim Klacik. How did she get here? Where'd she come from? This was a special election primary. The voting occurred on February 4th. Here you see that she won pretty easily. 40%, 24%. You had another individual at 12%. I was just thinking about something. Look at this photo. James Arnold, isn't that a little racist of them? Look at that photo. I'm just kidding, guys. Come on. On the Democrat side, Kweisi Mfume won pretty handily. 43%, 17%. You had another challenger in there at 16%. If you look at the total number of votes, though, this is where the problem comes in. Now keep in mind this district has about 660,000 people in it, from what I've read. Now look here, total votes cast for the Democrat, 73,032. Republican votes, 11,266. That's over 6 times as many Democrats got out to the polls as Republicans. Now this is what Kim was talking about in terms of Democratic control of Baltimore. She talked about 53 years. It goes back further than that. That 1953, he was a white guy though, so maybe she just wasn't counting him in there. But 1971, he was out of there. Perrin Mitchell, Democrat. Kweisi Mfume. So he used to represent the district from 87 to 96. Well, why did he leave? Well, he resigned to become the CEO of the NAACP. And again, a lot of you may know this already. You may have done your research, but I just didn't know. I didn't know all of this. It's hard to know local races in your own state, let alone nationally. The seat was vacant for a little while, and then they turned it over to the Rat King of Baltimore. Now, we're not talking about the Sausage King of Chicago, Abe Froman. We're talking about the Rat King of Baltimore, Elijah Cummings. Served for 23 years until his death. The seat remained vacant. He won a special election on April 28th. Well, who did he go against? Why are we just hearing about Kimberly now? 151,000 votes came in total for Maryland's District 7. CD7, they call it Congressional District 7. 73.8% to 25.1%. As I said, a lot of you may know this already, but when you hear people talking about it, and this is the point I'm getting to, when you hear people talk about this, it's like she just magically came out of nowhere with all her hotness in that red dress. She didn't come out of nowhere. People just finally figured it out. She's been here since at least February, and I've seen other videos of her where she had this business she created. It was a nonprofit. So that's great. She's been around helping out Baltimore. I saw an interview she gave. They were asking her this and that. She said she doesn't live in the district. She actually lives in a neighboring district, which is District 6. But here's the thing. So the missus and I, we kind of joke about politics and stuff like that. And she was saying, oh, wow, I should run. And I was like, well, yeah, we just need to find you a district to where there's a large percentage of the population that's your ethnicity or tone and shares your political leanings, right? Be you a Democrat, Republican, white, black, Asian, Latino, whatever it is. There's a bit of, what do we call it? Preference. If you are an individual of the type of the demographic in a given district. But in this case, it's offset. Kim's black, Mfume's black as well. So you might be thinking, okay, well, what's your point? Well, let me show you, and keep in mind these numbers. 74 to 25. The Rat King, when he was still alive, he won CD7 in Maryland, 76 to 21. Now, Kim cut that deficit down a little bit, but here, Richmond Davis, he lost by 55 points. Kim lost by 48 points. She cut it down by 7, sure. And that special election between Mfume and Klasick, his 48-point win, that was just at the end of April. From that time at the end of April until Election Day, we're talking about just a 5-month period of time. I get it that the video went viral, that she's been able to raise a ton of money and get a lot of eyeballs on Baltimore and on her campaign as well. However, my question would be, how's that going to translate? I'd heard in an interview where she said the team's out there canvassing 3 to 5 days a week and then another day or 2 a week. They're getting new voters registered. With that being the case, 5 months work, are you going to really be able to make up 48 points? That's why I was talking about all this buzz. Oh, it's a viral video. Oh, Kim Klasick's the new star. We've got her at the RNC. And, you know, not trying to sound negative, but think about it. Realistically, if you have individuals, and granted, a lot of people have left Baltimore, but if you have individuals that have been voting Democrat hard for 50, 60 years, we saw it all the way back to the 50s, they had a Democrat in office. If you have that type of situation, I think it's darn near impossible to convert to change the mentality of individuals and how they think. Even if you can demonstrate to them that you can provide something better for them, even if you can show them a better way, how many times do we hear it from people? It's like a badge of honor. Oh, I've been voting Democrat for 40 years. I've been a Republican lifelong. It's like, I'm not really with that. To me, it's who can provide the best for my situation, but of course for my city, the Congressional District, the area, the county, then the state, then national. Like, you just take it up a step every time. But that's just me. How many individuals are really going to flip? No amount of canvassing can really get these individuals out of the mindset in mass, which is what they would need. It's a 48-point loss. I just wanted to highlight that once again. Look at these numbers. 111,000, nearly 112,000 votes. She had 38,000 votes. And that's 150,000 people that came out. I had also read somewhere that Democrats outnumbered Republicans 4-1 there. We saw in the special election, it was even greater. It was like 6.5 to 1. But let's say we take that number and say, okay, well, there's one Republican for every 4 Democrats. So 20% of the electorate in CD7 would be a Republican. 660,000 people there. Obviously, they can't all vote. But even if they could, 20% of that, if every Republican came out, you'd still barely be talking about 132,000 votes. That's if we apply the percentage, 20%, to every person in CD7. Obviously, you know, half of the people there probably aren't old enough to vote, right? So the point is I get the buzz, I get the hype, I get all of that. Realistically, you see it right in front of your face. Not trying to rain on anybody's parade here, but what I think is it could be something that takes 5 years, 10 years, a generation of canvassing to change people's mindsets. Even if we can see what's best, even if we can see what party causes the problem, and we're sitting there and you can point to a Republican-run city as well or town, even if you know, hey, I've been living in this place for 50 some odd years. You know, what may be obvious to us, for some reason isn't obvious to other people. So you have to question why that's the case. Why do people keep putting these same lousy politicians in office over and over and over again? In my district, CA 48, we had a guy in here, and I haven't even lived here for more than a few years, but there was a guy in office for over 30-something years. And that was the tagline that his opponent in 2018 was using. Oh, he's Putin's favorite congressional candidate. Oh, he's been in D.C. for so long. It worked. 2018 was kind of that period where people still believed Russiagate and all that nonsense. So I think that he played that well. And he's trying to do the same thing in 2020. He's running against a female this time who isn't closely aligned to Trump, doesn't have this long history in D.C., so he keeps trying to throw the same feces against the wall. We'll see if it works out. I honestly had no problems with a swamp monster getting the boot. The swamp monster was a Republican in that case, so this guy's a Democrat, now he's running against a Republican. He's a turd, though. He keeps saying the same old stuff. Oh, calling it the China virus is racist. Talks about Russia again, tries to tie her to Russia. He's talking about the same old thing, called Kyle Rittenhouse a white supremacist. Come on, man. He was out there talking about mailboxes getting stolen and Drumfler and all this stuff. And it's like, come on, man. I'm like, you booted out a 30-year swamp monster. In 2 years, you already sound like a swamp monster. Like, get out of town with that. That's the kind of stuff I can't tolerate. I just can't see it. I just can't see it being that much different now. Now, it seems like there's a lot of momentum on the Republican side, and I don't doubt this is going to help her. With the video, with the RNC, all of this other stuff, the canvassing. But guys and gals, she lost by 73,000 votes. Maybe the race tightens and it's a 40-point loss or a 35-point loss. I think all you want to see if you want change or you support Kim is you want to see progress. And the real test will come with, hey, if she loses by 40 or 35 points, is she really about it? Is she really committed long-term to Baltimore City and CD7? And if she loses big time like that, that's what I would like to see. That would show me something. We see your character more when you lose, right? If you lose, how are you going to step up? If you lose, what are you going to do? You're going to take your ball and go home? Or are you going to keep hitting the streets, putting the pressure on the Democrats and trying to come back in 2022? Trying to keep narrowing that gap. 5 years, 10 years, a generation. She's young enough. Does she really want it? Something miraculous could happen and she could win. She could flip this, but it's really hard to see. And I'd be surprised, as I said, if she didn't lose by 35 or 40 points, just because the mindset. It's a slow thing. You just have to keep grinding at it. And so I'm going to be interested come November what happens. And again, like I said, if it goes how we think it's going to go, is she really about it? Is she really about this district? And helping people long-term kind of see like, hey, we lost this time, but let's hold the Democrats' feet to the fire. If they don't turn things around in 2 years, I'll be back. So that's all I got. Let me know what you guys think. The video was looking good, but it takes more than that to change people's minds, right? All right, take care, everybody. Thanks for watching.